our holy grail is soulmate relationship. Soulmate relationships don't work. Okay, so that's like, hello. Josh is saying, like, I don't think I should have had this guy on the podcast.
No, it makes sense.
Right? It's like, right, you can feel it, right? It's like,
that's why there's so much drama about soulmate, twin flame. They're arguing. It's like, what are we arguing about?
It doesn't work, right? So I want to start with the beginning. I'm going to go to the beginning. So one, and I'm just going to do, and Josh, I can feel it. Josh is like, is he going to do like a big structural philosophical riff for like 45 minutes? So he's tempted to do that, but he's not going to. I want to feel, we feel that rising in the field, but we're not going to do that. But let me just say it like crazy simply. Okay. And the third essay actually in the second book, which is called, it's two volumes. You can just get the first one, but it's called The Evolution of Love from Quirks to Culture. Right. So this book has a third essay, which I'm going to summarize in about a minute. Okay. So one, reality is evolution. Scientific fact. Reality is evolution, and spiritual fact. Because all evolution means is it's a story of transformation. Reality is a story of transformation, which begins the book of John with a logos, the word, right? The word which unfolds into a story. So reality is evolution. One. Two, reality is relationships. That's two. Or relationships means intimacy. Reality is intimacy. Three, reality is the evolution of relationships. Reality is the evolution of intimacy. That's second simplicity. That's a really big deal. You know, I was sitting with my friend, colleague Irvin Laszlo, who's like 91, 92. He's an old evolutionary theorist, musician, one of the kind of grand theorists of, theory. And we were in Tuscany walking, and I said to Irvin, so what's the story of evolution? He says, well, evolution's the movement of systems from simplicity to complexity. I said, Irvin, I mean, that's true, but that's the exterior. I said, Irvin, you're a musician. He was a prize musician before he went into physics. What's the music of it? Give me the music. What's the interior of complexity? Complexity is interconnectivity. But what's the inside of interconnectivity? The interior of interconnectivity is intimacy. So reality is not just the move from simplicity to complexity, which is a mechanical move. Reality is music. Nietzsche got that right. Reality is music. So reality is the progressive deepening of intimacies. That's actually the structure of reality. And reality moves through crisis. So crisis is an evolutionary driver. And every crisis is a crisis of relationship. All the way down the evolutionary chain and all the way up to our lives. It's always crisis of intimacy, crisis of relationship, and our crisis is always a birth. So if you are in a relationship and you are in crisis, welcome to the world. Right? That is the structure of reality itself. Crisis is an evolutionary driver, and the movement is the evolution of relationships. So now let's take that like huge frame. We could talk about it for 5 hours, but we're done with it for now. Let's now go to like today, my life, your life. So in, let's say, the last 40 years, just like all through history, just like single-celled organisms couldn't breathe, so they had to create a new relationship called multi-celled organisms, right? Because crisis creates new intimacy. Crisis generates new intimacy. So we have, in the last 40, 50 years, we have 3 stages of relationship, 3 stages in the evolution of relationships. But the reason we gave that larger frame was because that's just not a coincidence. Oh, it happens to be in the last 40, 50. No, that's the structure of reality. This is the movement of reality. I'm participating in the story of reality. So what are the 3 stages? So there's what we're going to call rolemate to soulmate to wholemate. Now there's rolemate to soulmate understanding, right? A dear friend of mine, Warren Farrell, right, wrote about this, 25, 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah, the boy crisis?
Right. Warren's new book is The Boy Crisis. Warren, it was at our think tank, the Center for World Philosophy and Religion, where I started it in 2009 or 10 with my dear friend Ken Wilber. Ken introduced me to Warren back in the day, and Warren and I have become fast, close friends for many, many years. And Warren's been kind of the vice president, whatever that means, in the think tank, working on gender. So Warren and I have talked about gender for many, many years. And Warren's book, by the way, The Boy Crisis, is fantastic. But back in the day, Warren kind of summarized the basic idea. Well, in the 50s, there's a certain kind of relationship, right? In the 60s, something changed, and he called it roommate to soulmate. And those are terms which I use in a very different way than him, but I want to credit him with those two original terms. Because, by the way, also, we forget to credit friends.
Yeah.
What a bad idea.
Wisdom is borrowed.
What a bad idea. Yeah. So, but as Warren said when he gave one of the blurbs to this book, right? We've taken the roommate to soulmate thing in an entirely different direction. And I think, sorry, Warren, but actually kind of far deeper than that original, because Warren's basically trying to do a world based on, I would say, kind of social theory, economic psychology without the divine. I think it doesn't work. I think it ignores primary motivations, but different conversation. But Warren's rock star, and his work is rock star and important. So roommate to soulmate, but then we're adding wholemate. So let's get what each one of these things mean. Let's go slow. So roommate means, and we think, and in a certain sense, my work is in a response to Warren's work saying doesn't work. Because Warren says, okay, he's describing society accurately. We moved from roommate to soulmate. Isn't that great? I'm saying, no, we moved from roommate to soulmate and it crashed, which is more accurate. So let's just go slow. So what's roommate? Roommate means we each have a role. Breadwinner, nurturer, family, hearth and home, protector, right? There's this classical relationship deal. Mm-hmm. And there's a relationship deal, and it's almost like we're starting like a new podcast now, right? It's like we're now in a new world. We're now in a kind of, now we're stepping in. So this relationship deal was the guy's the breadwinner. He's bringing home the bacon. He's the protector. The woman is the homemaker. She's the nurturer. That's the relationship deal. That's what creates polarity. Polarity is a term that actually really John Gray did the original work on. And people kind of like at this point, they're a little bit derisive. Oh, John Gray, Venus and Mars, old work. John did a great job. He's a dear friend. John, Warren, and I have taken many walks together, long walks kind of talking about things. And we're actually going to publish a little book together about a certain dimension of thought. But John really got this idea of sexual polarity works in a very, very clear way when you have these very distinct roles. And that's what it used to be. It worked for a few 100,000 years, ever since Cro-Magnon man. Mm-hmm. The old relationships deal. That deal is still in effect in much of the world. It's a beautiful deal, but the deal is also off, right? Meaning lots of the world is not doing that deal anymore, right? Lots of the world, men are engaging their feminine, women are actually engaging more of their masculine. They're still remaining men and women, but something's expanding, something's changing. You have in the United States today, we're just hitting 50% of households where the primary breadwinner is a woman. Western Europe, for sure, right? In the Black and Hispanic communities, majority, right? Breadwinner's a woman. So obviously that old polarity is not actually happening, right? It's a different world. But roommate means our relationship is based on each doing our roles well. That's what it's about. Our attention is on the kids. And it's beautiful. By the way, roommate's beautiful. I want to be really clear about that. Roommate is gorgeous. And soulmates can have some really gorgeous things. They're just insufficient. We have to include and transcend them. But roommate means we're not looking deeply into each other's eyes. We're looking at the kids, right? We're looking at the finances. We're looking at the building. And there's a lot of beautiful polarity, and we're each doing our roles. And roommate's not about communication. It's about getting it done. It's about survival, right? The value of roommate is survival. The context for relating is to survive and thrive for me and my family. So the context for relating, right? The goal, the mission, survive and thrive for who? Me and my family. Now, I'm going to give you like a dramatic example of it. It's kind of a big deal. So my friend John Gray, so John wrote his Venus and Mars book back in 1993. A year later, he wrote a book, sorry, John, but it was even a much better book, which didn't sell because that's how books kind of do. But it was a great book. And he starts this new book and he tells this tragic story about his dad. And he tells it publicly so I can tell it, right? And he talks about picking his dad's affairs. And that his mother would tell him, but your dad is a good man. He's a good family man. And John's like, really?
Yeah.
Right. Hello? Like, is there something wrong with the story? But of course, what I said to John was, and John and I had many conversations about this, that's roommate. Roommate means what his mom was saying down in Houston, Texas is, your dad's fulfilling his role. He's bringing home the bacon. He's not leaving the family. And he's discreet on his trips, like whatever. So we don't communicate. That's not the issue. No role mate couple leaves because they have communication issues. Doesn't happen. You don't leave because desire has waned. No, you're roommates. Mm-hmm. And if you tell your parents you're going to leave because you have communication issues, your parents look at you like you're out of your mind. And even if they don't believe in therapy, they'll pay for it. We'll pay for therapy. Stay, because roommate. So it's about stability. Now, what happens? And this is like what happens in culture. So go with me, my brother, to 1963. We're on Broadway. It's, by the way, right before My Fair Lady starts in 1964. We'll talk about My Fair Lady another time. But there's a play called Fiddler on the Roof, which is this longest running show on Broadway. I think Topol plays this figure called Tevye, and it's about this Jewish family in Russia, right, in the Pale of the Settlement, the late 19th century. And like there's songs like, if I were a rich man, right? Like we kind of remember those, or matchmaker, make me a match, right? I won't quit my day job, but okay, right? So you got that, right? So there's this beautiful moment in which Tevye and Goldie are the couple, Goldie the woman, Tevye the guy, and they have a daughter who falls in love with this guy who just doesn't have a good job, right? Doesn't have a future. And Goldie says to Tevye, our daughter, she wants to marry him. And he says, I gave her permission. He says, what do you mean? He's got no prospects. He's got no future. Why'd you give her permission? And so Tevye says to Goldie, because she loves him. And Goldie says, what's love got to do with it? Mm. And then Tevye turns to Goldie and says, do you love me? And she says, the wife, Goldie says, do you love me? And she says, for 25 years, I've washed your clothes. I've darned your clothes. She goes, for 25 years, this beautiful song of all the role mate jobs. So what are you asking? Do I love you? And then Tevye looks at her. He says, but I understand for 25 years, you've washed my clothes. You've done, but do you love me? And they have this gorgeous exchange. And she says, I suppose I do. Right? It's this beautiful, gorgeous moment. But what happens is it's the beginning of Soulmate. Mm. Now, fast forward with me, jump with me 7 years. It's 1970, before you were born. As I told you, I'm 93. So I remember this. It's 1970. I'm barely in this world. And it's called Love Story. It's the epic movie of 1970 that climaxed the 60s. It's Ryan O'Neal and Ally McGraw. You probably don't even remember the names, but it's the movie that swept the Western world. And it's about this couple, Oliver and Jenny, and he's Barrett Hall in Harvard, Oliver Barrett, wealthy family. She's an Italian girl from the other side of the tracks, who's a beautiful violinist, and they fall in love. And they're not role mates. They're not from the same socioeconomic class. They don't really fit into each other's world. She's not going to host dinner parties well. His father's not going to like her, right? And they fall in love, and their first scene is this kind of this flirting scene. It's just these two souls coming together. Crazy beautiful. It's right? Love story. And it's called Love Story. And the point is, it's not about roles. It's about soulmate. And Love Story brings soulmate into the world.
If you love that video, you'll love the one on the screen right now. Click the one on the screen and enjoy.